Hello, mentors. Thank you all for applying to volunteer with Spark this spring. You'll be meeting your students soon, but before the students come to your office, it is important that you know a little bit more about the program and some key Spark protocols and policies to set you up for success. If, after watching this training video, you have any lingering questions, please feel free to reach out to a Spark staff member at the contact information on the screen. Let's start with why Spark exists and why we need mentors such as yourselves. Spark works with 7th and 8th grade students from underserved communities in an effort to prepare them for the high school transition. Research has shown that most high school dropouts happen in the 9th grade because students enter high school unprepared. The dropout process starts in middle school when students become disengaged in class. Disengagement in class results in students missing more days of school, which then causes poor grades. This leads to students to either graduate high school unprepared for college or drop out during high school. Spark's solution to this is workplace-based mentoring, which includes 3 key aspects: project-based learning, skill development, and relationship building. In the first 2 weeks, you and your student will decide on a project together that allows your student to explore a passion of theirs. Later, we will go over some past projects so you have an idea of what this project can be. Through the project, you will help your student learn and master several skills proven to be crucial to their success in high school. Skills you likely use daily at work, such as networking, public speaking, and goal setting. Working on a shared project and learning new skills will naturally lend itself to building a relationship with your student. Our students need role models who care about their future, can introduce them to new opportunities, and will help them reach their potential. Spark schools have also seen the positive effect of this mentoring relationship on their students. Principal Rogers from Dewey School of Excellence loves that Spark helps students get the skills and the motivation they need to be prepared for high school, college, and beyond. As a mentor, you will have a chance to make that impact on students from one of our 12 schools in either the south, southwest, or west sides of Chicago. On this slide, you will see a map of all the schools with which Spark works. You can refer to the neighborhood guide in the mentor packet for more specific information on the particular neighborhood our students are coming from. During this apprenticeship, Spark has multiple support systems in place. Up until this point, many of you have likely been communicating primarily with JD, Spark's volunteer manager. Now that program is kicking off, your point person at Spark is your program coordinator, who may have reached out to you at least once during the past month to introduce herself and send important program information. You can and should reach out to your program coordinator if you have any questions or are facing any sort of challenges with students, transportation, logistics, etc. There is no question too small, and Spark loves hearing feedback from you, both positive and constructive. If you're working at a company with a large group of mentors, you may also have a Spark ambassador at your workplace. Reach out to your ambassador if you have any logistical questions about how Spark works at your company.
Spark Online is the platform Spark staff members, mentors, students, and school partners use to access resources and communicate with one another. If you do not have one already, you will receive your Spark Online account information, such as username and temporary password, once you are mapped with your student. As a mentor, you will primarily use Spark Online to access weekly checklists and skills of the week, the project library, and the project plan. Aside from finding helpful resources, there are a few things that Spark requires you to do on Spark Online throughout the session, one of which is filling out extremely brief bi-weekly surveys after your apprenticeship during weeks 1, 3, 5, and 7. These only take 1 minute and ensure that Spark staff can run a quality program for all students and mentors. Additionally, during the 8-week session, students are working on a Find Your Spark badge, which recognizes their successful completion of the apprenticeship program. You can help them earn their badge by completing 3 mandatory tasks: view the project library during week 1, complete your project plan during week 2, and post your student's project during week 8. Don't worry if you can't remember all of this right now. Just make sure to consult your checklist on Spark Online each week, and you will have all of the information that you need. Spark Weekly Checklists include suggested activities, action items, and helpful links to various resources. You can find all of your weekly checklists on the homepage of your Spark Online account. The times listed next to each activity are just suggestions to help you structure your apprenticeship, but you do not have to follow these times exactly. During school time, many Spark students also take a Spark class to complement the learning that takes place at their apprenticeships. In Spark class, students learn and practice different Spark skills such as networking, problem solving, and teamwork. As a mentor, you should spend a few minutes at each apprenticeship session reviewing and practicing the Spark skill of the week. This can be in the form of a group activity if you are not the only mentor at your company, a one-on-one discussion, or whatever works best for you. The project library is an extremely helpful resource, particularly for new mentors. You should visit the project library with your student at the beginning of your apprenticeship to get ideas for your own project. This can take the stress off of you so you don't have to come up with the idea completely on your own. When visiting the project library, you can select a category or categories that interest your mentee and view projects that fit into those categories. Use projects in the project library as inspiration for your own project, but you do not need to replicate a project that has already been done. Gabriel, a Spark student from the fall, is interested in video games and soap. Take a minute to look at his project plan on the screen. Read his overall project goals and how he and his mentor combine their skills and interests to create the perfect project for them. Here are some things you may have noticed about this project plan. The project doesn't necessarily make sense, but it gives a student a chance to explore his interests, which is really the most important part of the project. The project doesn't reflect the mentor's specific job skills, but rather her personal skills. She says she's a visual person. Your project does not have to be based on what you do at work. The student interest section is written by the student, and the mentor's skills section is written by the mentor. The overall project goals section is written together. This really shows a true collaboration. You don't have to have your whole project figured out before you create your project plan. When creating weekly goals, remember that you can update your project plan if things change or alter course. Create the project plan with your mentee, not during your own personal time. Creating the project plan helps students learn about goal setting and time management and helps you learn more about each other, so it is important that you work on it together. Furthermore, Spark does not want any mentors or students to have homework outside of apprenticeship time. If you don't think you can finish your project during the allotted time, scale back a bit. Many mentors are nervous about the project component of mentoring with Spark. As mentioned earlier, the primary purpose of the Spark project is to allow you to connect with your student and teach him or her important skills. The project is not meant to be stressful or overly complicated, but rather fun and rewarding. While there are many different ways to format a project and many different topics you can cover, here are just a couple of examples of projects that students created in the fall. Jediah merged her interest in acting and animals to create a dog food commercial for a brand that her own dog loved. Her mentor, Ashley, helps her think critically about how to market a product effectively, and together they wrote a script that Jediah believed would convince people to buy Merrick dog food. Jediah, Ashley, and Ashley's dog spent one of the last apprenticeships filming and editing the video so it was TV ready for her company's showcase. Elijah, Myerick, and Alvin have two loves in common: basketball and shoes. After meeting their mentors at the beginning of the fall session and discovering their overlapping interests, they joined forces to work on a group project. As a team, Elijah, Myerick, and Alvin designed their ideal basketball shoe, and with the help of their mentors, learned what it would take to successfully sell their shoes to their target audience, basketball players. In a compelling letter to Derrick Rose, the students made a case for why the star athlete should ditch his injury-inducing Adidas for their Blue Magic basketball shoes. A quick note about working in a group on a project. This can be a great way to get students more comfortable and create a really awesome project. Just keep in mind that relationship building is sometimes more challenging in a group, and mentors are still expected to be present at all times.
While there is not one right way to structure your apprenticeship, Spark has found that combining group activities with one-on-one mentoring is often very successful. At companies with only one mentor, group activities can be substituted for icebreaker games, skill of the week practice, guest speakers, or anything that helps give each session a strong start. If you have any questions about activities you can do with your student, reach out to your program coordinator. Spark alum Cantrell said, "One piece of advice I have for mentors is to just be there for their student. Spark apprenticeship sessions happen once a week for 8 weeks and last just 2 hours. Why do you think it is so important for mentors to be there every single week?" Well, many Spark students do not have a consistent adult in their lives. Having a mentor makes them feel special, important, and motivated. Simply showing up is one of the most important things a mentor can do. When a mentor does not attend an apprenticeship session, his or her student may feel discouraged. Think, if all of the other mentors are present every week, the student may think, what's wrong with me, or my mentor must hate me. Although you know the reasons why you should be present at every apprenticeship session, sometimes absences are out of your control. This is why Spark has developed a specific protocol that mentors should follow if they cannot avoid an absence. As soon as you know that you will be absent for an apprenticeship session, notify your Spark program coordinator and ambassador if there is one. If there is at least one other mentor at your company, your program coordinator will direct you to find a substitute mentor. Once you have found a substitute mentor, you should leave a work plan, any necessary work and supplies, and a note for your student with the substitute mentor. Spark students should not be penalized if their mentor cannot make it to a session. If a student is able and willing to attend Spark even when his or her mentor is absent, he or she should be allowed to do so. This is why it is important to leave a work plan. Students need something to do for 2 hours. Furthermore, it is difficult for the substitute mentor to manage an additional student if they do not have a plan in place. If you are the only mentor at your company, you should talk to your program coordinator about scheduling a makeup session with your student and write a brief note explaining why you will be absent. Your program coordinator will give the note to your student on the apprenticeship day you will be missing. Leaving a note shows your student that you care and feel bad about your absence. If you can explain why you are absent and how you look forward to the next session, your student will feel much better about having to miss Spark. Spark encourages mentors to take students on field trips. Field trips are an excellent way to build relationships, inspire students, create excitement around a project, and get some fresh air. Any activity that takes place outside of the mentor's office is considered a Spark field trip. To ensure student safety, a field trip must be in a public place, and a mentor must contact Spark for approval beforehand. In order for a field trip to be approved, Spark mentors must let their Spark program coordinator know about the field trip at least a week in advance, be accompanied by at least one other cleared Spark mentor, walk, take public transit, or a cab, Uber, or Lyft, and work within the 2-hour apprenticeship time frame, ensuring that the student is picked up and returned to the meeting spot at the regular designated time. While field trips are not a mandatory part of the Spark program, they are highly encouraged. Field trips are often inspired by projects, so don't worry if you are unsure right now about what type of field trip you would like to take with your student. While Spark encourages mentors to take ownership of their own apprenticeship experience, there are some non-negotiables that they must abide by to ensure student safety. Mentors are required to follow all Spark protocols, such as the field trip policy outlined earlier, and make sure to pick up and drop off students at all times. It is a safety risk for students if you drop them off at the train station early or are continuously picking up late. We understand that things may come up during the session, but if anything hinders your ability to pick up or drop off a student on time, let Spark staff know as soon as possible. Lastly, if your student discloses anything of concern to you, or if you sense anything including abuse, neglect, or an intent to harm themselves or others, tell Spark staff immediately. All Spark staff members are trained on how to handle these situations and will follow up appropriately to make sure the student receives the proper care. Some Spark mentors have worked with middle school students in the past. Many have not and are unsure of what kind of boundaries should be set with their mentees. We will now go through a few scenarios that have occurred in the past. Please take a few seconds to think about what you would do in each situation, and then we will discuss how to appropriately approach that situation based on Spark policies. What would you do if your student asks you if they can go to McDonald's because they are hungry? Spark asks mentors to provide students with a healthy snack each week as outlined in the snack pack in the mentor packet, and strongly discourages mentors to purchase fast food or any type of meal for their students. Not only should students be eating healthy food, but buying food for students can set an expectation that this will be the norm every week. This can put a lot of pressure on the mentor, which can cause a strain on the relationship and is unfair to students whose mentors follow the snack pact. What would you do if your student asks to exchange phone numbers? While Spark wants mentors and mentees to have a strong and caring relationship, communication outside of Spark time should be kept to a minimum. Mentors and mentees can communicate through their team on Spark Online or through a Spark staff person. If necessary, mentors can email or text their student, but they should discuss this with the program coordinator first. What would you do if you hear students talking about how cool it was that they got in trouble in school? It is the role of mentors to be positive role models for their students. This could be used as a good learning opportunity for students, and mentors can even reflect on their own past in an appropriate manner. If a student discloses anything that is of concern to a mentor, please notify a Spark staff member immediately so they can check in and take the appropriate next steps. Last one, what would you do if at the end of the apprenticeship you want to give your student a small gift? Spark asks mentors to refrain from purchasing gifts during, at the end, or after the session. If you would like to give something to your student, consider writing him or her a note. You can also give free group gifts at the end of the session, such as certificates, awards, or company swag. Purchased gifts similar to food can set unreasonable expectations for and cause jealousy among students and may cause a student to think more about the gift they got from their mentor than the relationship they formed and the experience they had. Spark's goal is to make an impact on its students' futures, and as a mentor, you are a catalyst for that impact. That being said, impact does not look the same for every student, and in some instances may not be as apparent as you may expect. Some mentors are not sure if they've made an impact on their students by the end of the session and may feel disappointed. Just by showing up and teaching your student important skills, you will make an impact, no matter how visible it may be to you. As a Spark mentor, you are putting your student on the path to a successful future in high school, college, and beyond, and your impact may be seen in years to come. By now, you should have gotten multiple emails that include your specific program dates. If you have any questions about what you saw or did not see in this training, please reach out to JD or your program coordinator. Thank you so much for participating in this important information session. We're really looking forward to working with you this spring.